Okay, it is by far and away the best time of the day, the time to get in a real money fantasy football draft. We're picking at a pretty good spot as well. We are going to be picking at the 103. So this gives us access to a guaranteed top 5 player. In my opinion, this year, there's easily a top 5 tier, guys. You're looking at CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. You can order them how you want them, but I think in drafts, based on the running back value you're going to find later on, and based on how damn good Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase are, that's going to be the top 3. I'd imagine we walk away with this draft with Cooper Kupp at pick 3. But before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you play fantasy football and you have not drafted on Underdog Fantasy yet, fix your life. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. There's nothing more fun than hopping in these Underdog drafts. That's why I do it every single day. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So you get to try it out for free. And you get our 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide with legitimately just a $10 deposit. So please take advantage of that. Let's go ahead. Let's make our selection of Cooper Kupp here. Looks like Christian McCaffrey does indeed go at pick 1. And if we are going to be taking Cooper Kupp, let me remind you how damn good he was last year. Now, of course, I don't need to convince you to draft Cooper Kupp. Everybody understands who Cooper Kupp is. Everybody understands what he just did. But I've even thought maybe, just maybe, there's an argument to be made to go Justin Jefferson over Cooper Kupp this season. I mean, that thought has crossed my mind. But then you look at 2021, you look at Cooper Kupp with 191 targets, 1,900, almost 2,000 receiving yards. I mean, if we want to throw on what he did in the playoffs as well, if you're looking at the playoffs and the regular season, Cooper Kupp had almost 2,500 receiving yards. Absurd. And then you're looking at 16 receiving touchdowns. Got to go Cooper Kupp at 3. We're going to find some great running back values later on. We can get maybe Saquon Barkley at pick 22. We can maybe get Mark Andrews. If we don't get them, Leonard Fournette, maybe we go wide receiver. We'll figure it out. But it looks like this will be a wide receiver heavy draft room in that you have both Stephon Diggs and Davante Adams going before Derrick Henry. Now, personally, I'm going to be going Stephon Diggs before Henry based on the running back value we can find later on. However, Davante Adams pick 8. I'm not viewing Davante Adams as a wide receiver that's in the same tier as Stephon Diggs this season. We even have CeeDee Lamb going round 1. And I will say, if you're drafting on Underdog Fantasy and you see these experience badges, you need to understand that someone with an experience badge probably knows to draft wide receivers early on Underdog Fantasy. So you should probably expect these wide receivers to slide up your draft board ever so slightly. I mean, here we even have DeAndre Swift at 13. Looks like Naji Harris is going to be pushed down to the 2nd round. Something that's happening more and more often. Naji Harris, despite having a very impressive rookie season, now is being drafted back where he was as a rookie. So, of course, there are reasons in that. I don't want to act like Naji Harris is the best value ever when we were just calling him an overdrafted player when he was going at pick 8. I can't come out here and go, oh, Naji Harris, a horrible value at pick 8. Avoid him at all costs. And then when he falls to pick 14, go, oh, Naji Harris, the best value in drafts, take him ever. I think Naji Harris at 14, that's where I started to get excited. That's where I am willing to draft Harris. I can't act like he is some massive value, though. You have Deebo Samuel going before Joe Mixon. Just to give you an idea of how wide receiver heavy this draft room is. And Stephon Diggs and T. Higgins on the same team. You have T. Higgins going at pick 18. Look at the running backs T. Higgins is going before. You have T. Higgins before Aaron Jones. You have T. Higgins before Saquon Barkley. So based on what we are seeing with these drafters, I will take Tyreek Hill over Leonard Fournette here. Now, Mark Andrews is my number 1 option. If we can get Andrews here and then get Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the 5th, I think that would be very exciting. But if we don't have that chance, we are going to go ahead and take Tyreek. No, we are going to get Mark Andrews. And I probably go ahead and take a wide receiver at the beginning of the 3rd. Looks like I get it. I understand it. Of course, you prefer a running back in Nick Chubb or Javonte Williams in a vacuum over Keenan Allen. But I can't ignore what this draft room's doing. I can't ignore T. Higgins going at pick 18, Deebo Samuel going at 16, CeeDee Lamb going in the first round. I can't ignore what we are seeing in this draft. Okay, it looks like we're not taking a wide receiver because both our guys in A.J. Brown and Keenan Allen are off the board. I'm not taking Mike Williams here. So just was preparing you for me to pass on running back yet again and go with the wide receiver. But at this point, I'm not taking Mike Williams over Nick Chubb. I'm not drafting Michael Pittman Jr. over Nick Chubb. That's where I draw the line. I'm worried about the wide receiver value that we'll find later on. I'm worried that it won't be great. But round 3, Nick Chubb's round 3, Nick Chubb. We went Cooper Kupp in the first. Over Austin Eckler, over Derrick Henry, over Naji Harris, over those other options, so we can specifically grab pick 27, Nick Chubb. So let's do it. We see Josh Allen immediately off the board, pick 28. Personally, I'm not too interested in Josh Allen in this range unless we have Stephon Diggs. Like back-to-back drafts yesterday and the day before, I ended up taking Josh Allen in round 3, but that's when we had Stephon Diggs making it to us at pick 8, Stephon Diggs making it to us at 9, and then we had Josh Allen at pick 32 and 33. So there, I think it makes sense. Here where you take Jamar Chase and Leonard Fournette, not as excited. Of course, some people will say, oh, Mason's because in week 17, the Bills play the Bengals. Oh, God, we really doing this? But Courtland Sutton goes at pick 34. DJ Moore goes at 33. Jalen Waddle, 35. These wide receivers flying. Looks like this will be a draft that you have James Conner in the 4th round. 2 days ago on Underdog, in that live stream we did, I was able to take James Conner in round 4. I was very excited about it. Obviously, we are not going to have a chance here to go James Conner round 4 at pick 46. Now, if it does happen, I'll lose my mind. It would mean that you have wide receivers like Jerry Jeudy going over James Conner. That's exactly what that would mean. But let's see. James Conner at the 402, pick 38. This team starts Naji Harris, James Conner at running back, and a wide receiver, they have CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Waddle. It's funny because let's look back at this. This combination of 4 players isn't that unique, to be completely honest. Like if you're looking at CeeDee Lamb and Naji Harris and Jalen Waddle and James Conner, these are guys that get paired together in a ton of drafts all the time. The only difference is usually you have Naji Harris at pick 11, CeeDee Lamb pick 14. Usually you have James Conner at pick 35, Jalen Waddle at 38. So it's funny in that it seems like it's great value on James Conner. It seems like it's pretty good value on Naji Harris. But in reality, when you reach on those wide receivers, it almost just doesn't even make a difference. You're still coming away with the same team. But now let's figure out where we are going to go. I would easily take Deontay over Ezekiel Elliott here based on how this draft room has gone so far. Now, I'm not going to have to take Lamar Jackson at pick 46 if Herbert's still available. Metcalf off the board at 44. We're really wanting Deontay Johnson. Please, Schmitty, decide to take Ezekiel Elliott. He goes Zeke. So, of course, we want Lamar Jackson. We take Mark Andrews. We're wanting Lamar Jackson on this team. But the thing is, Lamar goes behind Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. We don't even know if these teams on the turn are going to want quarterback, but even if they both want an elite level option, we can assume that they go Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and we still get Lamar Jackson making it to us at pick 51. So I'm actually very excited to get that Deontay Johnson selection. I've told y'all way too many times why I really like this price point of Deontay Johnson for drafting him as a low-end wide receiver 2. Here he goes about the wide receiver 23 in this draft. Maybe even the wide receiver 24. He's being drafted as a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. I'm all about that price point. But it looks like we're almost guaranteed to get Lamar. Yeah, we're going to get Lamar Jackson. If we don't get Lamar, I'll take one of these other quarterbacks. We're grabbing an elite level QB. I like Kittle in this range as well. The issue is, hell, we took Mark Andrews in the second. When we take Mark Andrews in the second, it's not like we're going to draft George Kittle over one of these truly elite level quarterbacks. Now, Philly kid on the clock. They go CMC round 1. After that, they slam in 3 wide receivers. They just reach on David Montgomery. Now, Justin Herbert is someone that I rank over Lamar Jackson in a vacuum. The issue is, I don't know if we can take Herbert over Lamar on a team where we have Mark Andrews. Now, what I will say is, very few teams are able to draft Justin Herbert at pick 51. We could still get Everett. We could still get Isaiah Spiller. We could still get Joshua Palmer a little bit later. So the initial plan, once we take Mark Andrews here, is to decide to go with Lamar Jackson. But now that we have Justin Herbert falling to pick 51, I think if we take Herbert, we will still have access to those stacks later on, and we will be making a very unique team, a very unique draft with Justin Herbert at pick 51 when he usually goes so much earlier than this. So we'll roll the dice. We'll see if we can build an absolute super team by finding some of these charges a little bit later on. Obviously, our targets, like I said, Gerald Everett, Joshua Palmer, Isaiah Spiller. Hopefully, we can find them at a value. But let's take Herbert here as that elite level quarterback for us. Pair him with the elite level tight end in Mark Andrews. We have some solid receivers with Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson. We have a very good running back with Nick Chubb as well in round 3. But please go to the comment section. Let me know what you think of that pick. Let me know if you want to say, Mason, you're a clown. You drafted Andrews. You got to go Lamar Jackson no matter what. Or maybe it's, you know what, Mason, that was pretty damn good value on Herbert. Not many teams are getting Herbert in the 5th, especially when they get Deontay Johnson at pick 46. Let's take Herbert. Okay, but Lamar Jackson does go off the board at pick 57. If you're getting Lamar at the end of the 5th, you have to be so damn excited. I mean, I think that the quarterbacks in this range are just so much better values than running backs. I mean, mainly wide receivers as well. Like the fact that you have Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Juju Smith-Schuster, these guys going before Lamar Jackson. Like if we look at this, Gabriel Davis in this draft goes pick 41. Jerry Jeudy goes pick 39. Courtland Sutton goes pick 34. And you're getting Lamar Jackson at 57. The quarterbacks in this draft are just ridiculous. I find myself on Underdog Fantasy almost always taking these elite level quarterbacks. But let me show the entire draft board for anybody just now coming into the premiere. And of course, if you are just now coming in, please make sure you go down there, drop that like on the video. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, 61. Darnell Mooney, 62. Dalton Schultz, 63. Good thing for us to see Dalton Schultz off the draft board. Dalton Schultz isn't someone that I've been really drafting at all. Like, let me grab my phone so I can actually check my ownership percentage on Dalton Schultz, because I'm going to assume that it's legitimately 1 to 2%. Maybe I was drafting Dalton Schultz like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. But at this point where he's been going consistently at the beginning of the 6th round, the end of the 5th round, I mean, the draft yesterday we did, Dalton Schultz went at like pick 50. Dalton Schultz went before Lamar Jackson and Mahomes. I just cannot draft this guy. So let's look at our exposures. With Dalton Schultz, I have him in a total of, I'm going to assume 2% of drafts. 5% of drafts. Okay, so maybe that means I was drafting Dalton Schultz a lot earlier this offseason whenever contests first opened up before his price point got to be this ridiculous. But now it's this ridiculous. I haven't been drafting him at all. So 5% is a lot larger than I expected. And I'm honestly excited about that because I've been drafting him maybe once in the last month. So it means we must have been getting him at a fine value. Now, if we're looking at the players in this range, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take some wide receivers, as we were saying, based on what we saw from the draft board earlier in these. I think we're going to be able to find running back value late. We had T. Higgins going in the middle of the 2nd round here. We had Deebo Samuel going to like pick 16. I think we'll be able to find running back value late. Now, if we get A.J. Dillon at pick 75, I will go ahead. I'll take A.J. Dillon, pair him up with Nick Chubb as our running back too. But in terms of pick 70, based on the tier drop-offs that we're going to be looking at, I think Thielen's the play. So let's queue up our next guys. I think we would take London over Antonio Gibson as well, just strictly based on the running back value that I expect us to be able to grab later. But not interested in Russell Wilson when we don't have Judy. Not interested in Trey Lance here. Lance is just so goddamn expensive now. It warms my heart to realize that people are finally realizing the range of outcomes you have with an elite level rushing quarterback stepping into an elite level situation. But at the same time, it pains me because I'm not going to be drafting Lance nearly as often as I was before. But we play this perfectly. We said we were getting Adam Thielen because we were going to be able to find running back value later on. This draft room was preferring those wide receivers. You have 5 wide receivers going off in a row here. Before that, Devontae Smith. We had a run on 8 wide receivers. So now we're going to go ahead. We will get A.J. Dillon at pick 75. We're getting Dillon about 8 picks behind his ADP. We are going to be building a pretty damn good team. Guys, y'all got to give me credit. It's almost as if I've done like 400 of these drafts on Underdog Fantasy and really know how to build a solid roster at this point. And if you want to get better at drafting, please don't go and draft against a freaking computer and waste your time. Don't draft against people in a mock draft with nothing on the line that they don't care about and they're not even going to stick to the end with. Go deposit $10 on Underdog Fantasy. Hop into some of these best ball drafts. Just go hop in the $3 drafts. Hop in the $5 drafts so you can have some real draft experience, become a better drafter for your 2022 Fantasy Football League. And like I said, if you deposit $10, you get our draft guide as well, and they'll match your deposit. So you'll have $20 in your account. You can fire up 6 real money drafts where you're going to have drafters drafting with you all the way through the end. What is more valuable than that, realistically? But after we take A.J. Dillon, pick 75, you're going to have Antonio Gibson, 76, MVS, Hunter Renfrow, Miles Sanders, Allen Lazard. God dang, these wide receivers are going early. This almost makes me want to go back and not take A.J. Dillon. Of course, we have to take A.J. Dillon. I mean, that's too good a value to pass up on with A.J. Dillon. And please, if we are streaming this, I would have you remind me in the chat that we need to go ahead. We need to take Gerald Everett, Isaiah Spiller, and Joshua Palmer later on. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to queue these guys just so we don't forget. And we need to make sure that we are taking them whenever we have Herbert here, because if Herbert returns value based on our investment into him, you know that those other players have to beat their ADP as well. So let's queue up these guys. Worst case scenario, and I repeat, absolute worst case scenario, we end up having to take Jalen Guyton in the last round. Now, of course, that's plan D, okay? Plan A is just, let's get 2 of Gerald Everett, Isaiah Spiller, and Joshua Palmer. But we have Kadarius Toney going pick 84. Trey Lance is still available. I don't know the last time we saw Trey Lance fall to the 8th round. Of course, you have to be very excited seeing Lance fall here, especially if you were a team to grab Deebo Samuel at the beginning of the 2nd. If you took Deebo at the beginning of the 2nd, dear God, you better be taking Trey Lance here at the beginning of the 8th. Lance goes at 86. I don't think this is the team that took Deebo Samuel, but with Lance, we've talked about it all offseason. I've talked about it literally since he came into the league. With Lance, you don't need to have one of the 49ers pass catchers because Trey Lance could be a smash in fantasy, even if he's a bad real-life NFL quarterback based on the rushing upside that he has. So yeah, no, love the Lance pick regardless of your roster construction as your first QB there. Honestly, I wouldn't have even taken Tony Pollard. I guess maybe they took Tony Pollard thinking that they could get Dak Prescott, making it back to him at pick 86, and they could get a double stack with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Pollard. But looks like we need to go ahead. We need to take Ayuk. Now, the majority of these drafts in the 8th round, one of my most popular picks has been Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The thing is, look at the running backs available on the board versus the wide receivers, okay? This draft is just flying off receivers. I wouldn't be surprised if freaking Chase Claypool goes after we take Ayuk here. So it's going to be an easy selection for us to pick 94. We're getting a wide receiver and probably the most wide receiver heavy draft room you're ever going to find. 9 picks behind his ADP. We have no correlation with it, but who the hell cares? Stafford goes directly after. Stafford would have been in play for us at pick 99, given the fact that we do have Cooper Kupp. I'm not going to reach on Stafford, though, even with a Kupp roster. Now, looking at these running backs available, Hunt's gone. Okay, I was going to say, we're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Kareem Hunt. Now that Hunt is gone, I just really don't want Damian Harris. Like, I would take Dallas Goedert over Damian Harris. I don't want to mess up our queue just because I want to remind ourselves that we need to take those Chargers players later on. But yeah, Klaypolgon, what were we talking about? You were going to have these players at wide receiver just flying up. Like, literally, look at the ADP list right now. That is crazy. And we have 4 wide receivers. Tyler Boyd off the board as well. So we're getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire, potentially the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Almost outside the top 100 picks. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, someone when he was going in the 7th round earlier this offseason, I wasn't drafting him. So we said this in the live stream yesterday, but if I'm remembering correctly, we have like 10% Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But that 10% that I've drafted must have been all within the last week because I must have taken Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 50 drafts at this point. Like, I need to go through, let me go to RotoWorld, look up Clyde Edwards-Helaire and make sure there was no news that came out that I don't know of. Because with CEH, I'm the first person to say, I don't think that he is a great running back, a great talent. But based on how many points should be available in this offense, based on the depth chart here, there is the outside chance, and I'm just saying it's an outside chance, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is better than most people assume, and the reason he failed so miserably last season was due to the injuries. But I guess, yeah, the last report that we saw was an athletic reporter saying that Rojo has been exceptional in camp. Andy Reid said he'd be a major part in the offense. Outside of that, we don't really have any concrete news on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Easy bet for us to just go ahead, take CEH at 99. Now, let's move this down. If we are looking at quarterbacks in this range, I would say we could go ahead, take Aaron Rodgers. Like, let me pull up my $500 draft. I think this is about where we took Rodgers. I think we got Rodgers 116. And then after that, we ended up getting Christian Watson at the beginning of the 11th round. Which the issue here is, I don't know if we would get Christian Watson making it back to us. You know what we may do? Here's what we're going to do. If if Christian Watson is available, we're going to take Christian Watson pick 118. Because we could have the stack here with Rodgers and Watson, and then double stack if you include A.J. Dillon. Okay, Rodgers is off. Never mind. I was going to say, or we could get Kirk Cousins making it back to us with our next pick. It looks like we don't have an option at either one of those players. It is what it is. I actually like Christian Watson here. I love Melvin Gordon. Like, we go Melvin Gordon if he's available, but I'm completely fine with Melvin Gordon or Christian Watson. And it looks like Isaiah Spiller has an ADP of 134. Could we get Isaiah Spiller on the way back around? There's a small outside chance that Isaiah Spiller may fall, given the fact that this league has been so heavy on drafting wide receivers. So let's go ahead. Let's take Melvin Gordon, pick 118 as our fourth running back. We're only going to have to draft 5 running backs with this build. I mean, we have Nick Chubb, A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Melvin Gordon. The question is, do we roll the dice that we get Isaiah Spiller making it back? I think we are going to roll that dice. But the thing is also, if we were to take Ronald Jones here, I'm not that excited about drafting a 6th running back in Isaiah Spiller on the way back around almost regardless. Rojo's gone. So who could we even go with that would make sense outside of Isaiah Spiller? Let's go Rondale Moore. Let's just continue to add in wide receiver depth based on what we've seen with this league. And let's really hope, and I'm going to stress that we need Isaiah Spiller making it back to us. A potential passing down running back here for the Los Angeles Chargers if something were to occur to Austin Eckler. But we have now our 5th wide receiver. We have Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Brandon Ayuk, and Rondale Moore. So when we're needing Isaiah Spiller to make it back, hell, please go ahead, take some wide receivers. And if we don't get Isaiah Spiller, we'll go ahead, we'll take Joshua Palmer. We'll take one of those two guys, Isaiah Spiller or Joshua Palmer at pick 142. If we're looking at other players at the quarterback position that we could take that would make sense with this team, really everybody that would be an intriguing stack with Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen, Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Trey Lance and Brandon Ayuk, Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Russell Wilson, Melvin Gordon. All those guys are already gone. We've just been taking skill positions, guys in elite level offenses. So we don't have too many stacking options later on. When we only have to draft one more tight end because we took Mark Andrews in the 2nd. We could turn this into a 3 QB team, take Watson at the very end. But Isaiah Spiller goes pick 130. Sucks. Can't cry about it. We rolled the dice. We made the mistake. It is what it is. We try to build the super team. We can still get Joshua Palmer. We can still get Gerald Everett a little bit later on. So Joshua Palmer is by far and away the most important player to us at this point of the draft. It doesn't matter if Alexander Mattison falls. It doesn't matter if Mike Gesicki falls. And Joshua Palmer's off the board. Gosh dang it, guys. That sucks. It truly does. It is what it is. We'll keep chugging along here. Try to get Everett. If we're looking at where we will select Everett, I'm going to reach on him at pick 147. We'll take Everett in front of his ADP and not try to build the super team. It's not like Everett that is going to make it back to us. So because we need to add in Gerald Everett, even though I really like Gesicki at this price point, I still wouldn't even take Mike Gesicki if he were available to us at pick 142. I would really like Jahan Dotson making it back because Dotson would be a natural fit in if we are trying to take 2 more quarterbacks very late. One with Watson. We could also take Carson Wentz in the last round. Carson Wentz, I believe, has the week 14 bye, so it makes a lot of sense to take on a Watson build where Watson may miss an undisclosed amount of time. But it looks like we don't even have that option. Alexander Mattison off the board as well. Dear God, this was the worst turn of events that we could ever have. That was just everything that we wanted went wrong. Let's go ahead. We'll take Darrell Henderson. I'm fine with the Henderson value as our 5th running back. I think he is going to be the last guy that we have to draft. I mean, we have just very, very good running backs across the board. Now, this team has 3 QBs. They took Stafford, Fields, and Tua Tagovailoa. Why the hell are you reaching on Tua when you already have 2 guys? But I don't really care who they take. We're going to get Gerald Everett making it back to us to pick 147. Now, it'd feel so damn gross to draft Gerald Everett over Mike Gesicki and that I almost wouldn't even want to do it. But Gesicki goes 143 regardless. I'm fine taking Everett over Robert Tonyan. Fine taking Everett over Hunter Henry on a build where we have where we have Justin Herbert. And maybe, just maybe, y'all can convince me to go Jalen Guyton in the last round. Hines goes 144. Robbie Anderson 145. Yeah, we're getting Everett. None of this matters. None of this garbage matters. Y'all do what y'all want. Astro on the clock. They have 2 tight ends with Kittle and Gesicki. Let's reach on Gerald Everett, pick 147. Not good value, but we've bet on Justin Herbert here. And when you bet on Justin Herbert or any quarterback in the 5th round outside of Lamar Jackson, you need to make sure that if that bet goes correctly, you are also correlated somewhere else in your starting lineup where you get the double boost. Get boosted with Herbert's points over expectation. And if Herbert is scoring points over expectation, we can assume that it is likely to occur with another pass catcher in his offense. So even though I don't like Gerald Everett over Robert Tonyan, even though I honestly would even rather wait until pick 166 and grab Tyler Higbee, we just have to go ahead and draft him. Like, it's fantasy football in 2022. That's what it is. Let's move this down slightly. And after we take Gerald Everett, we are definitely wanting tight ends off the board. We have Mark Andrews. We have Everett. So we're done at tight end. If we think through what we need possibly 2 more quarterbacks. If we want to go Watson, we need 2 more QBs, which I kind of do want to go Watson, considering the fact that this is a best ball tournament where weeks 15, 16, and 17 matter so damn much. I'm recording this before we have any Watson news. By the time Watson comes out, by the time this video comes out, maybe Watson is already suspended for the entire year and I just look like a straight up clown. But at the same time, maybe Watson's only suspended 6 weeks and I look like a freaking genius that actually has access to winning $75,000 off a $5 freaking buy-in. Trevor Lawrence, pick 154. Mac Jones, good. Get these guys off. Come on. Just keep it going. Keep sliding these QBs off. Now, Jameis, we don't have any New Orleans Saints. And Jameis Winston's a quarterback that's not going to provide you any rushing upside at all. So if you were to take if you were to take a quarterback without any of their pass catchers, Jameis is not your guy to do so. Like Jameis, you need to make sure you have Michael Thomas, Kamara, Jarvis Landry, or Chris Olave on the team. You need one of those guys. I would be fine taking, say, Matt Ryan here and then Alec Pierce in the next round. Because if you're looking at it that way, we know that Matt Ryan has in bye week, I believe, week 14. And that should shape up nicely if Watson were to serve that suspension at the beginning of the year. But you know what? If we are back up on the clock, Winston is still available. What we may end up doing is reaching on Alec Pierce ahead of Matt Ryan. As really, Philly Kid 6 is the only team that can decide to take a quarterback. But you know what? They actually have Hines. Maybe when they have Hines, they're going to be more likely to grab Matt Ryan and Jameis Winston. But we'll figure it out. If DJ Chark's there, DJ Chark's pretty appealing. I really like DJ Chark in a best ball format, especially if he falls 13 picks, passes ADP. We have Darrell Williams off the board, 162. This is perfect for us. Come on, keep getting these running backs off. DJ Chark off 163. Daniel Jones is someone we could also take later. We could look at grabbing Daniel Jones and Wan'Dale Robinson. So you know what we're going to do? We're probably going to grab Alec Pierce here and then set ourselves up with the potential to get Matt Ryan with our following pick. If Winston goes off the board, maybe things change. Curtis Samuel off. Or we could go Corey Davis and set ourselves up with Zach Wilson. What is a better combo to have? Zach Wilson and Corey Davis or Matt Ryan and Alec Pierce? I like Corey Davis more than Alec Pierce. I honestly kind of like... Let's see if we can use our team as a tiebreaker. Let's go ahead. Let's take Corey Davis. I like Corey Davis more than Alec Pierce. We're guaranteed to get Zach Wilson on the way back around. I mean, unless Philly Kid does indeed reach on ADP, which of course is entirely possible, but I think we're pretty likely to go ahead and get Zach Wilson. And if that doesn't happen, do we just take Daniel Jones? No, we won't take Daniel Jones. We'll get Watson as well as, Matt Ryan went. Good thing we didn't do the Alec Pierce route. At some point when Winston falls this far, and Winston's median projection is going to be so much higher than Zach Wilson's, what advantage are we actually getting with the stack of our 6th wide receiver in Corey Davis and Zach Wilson versus taking Jameis Winston, 19 picks behind his ADP? And Winston also has the week 14 bye, so that would match up with us potentially wanting to go to Deshaun Watson later on. So despite us not having a stack, when it's this 19 pick value in ADP, I do like Watson a lot more in a vacuum. I don't know how relevant it actually is that we took Corey Davis. Let's go ahead. Let's take Jameis. We'll take Jameis Winston, ADP 152, pick 171. Another selection that I'd be very excited to hear your thoughts on. We were just talking about not wanting to take Winston outside of those Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Alvin Kamara builds. But here, we're getting him at pick 171. At some point, let's just take the guy who's going to score the most points. And let's really hope we get Watson making it back. I know most people would take the combination of Winston and Justin Herbert and probably be done. But this is a very unique roster where I'll recap it for y'all real quick. But I mean, looking across positions, I don't necessarily think we're that weak anywhere. Like we have Gerald Everett, Mark Andrews at tight end. When we have Mark Andrews at tight end, I think we're only going to have to grab 2 guys. At running back, we have the combination of Nick Chubb, A.J. Dillon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Melvin Gordon, Darrell Henderson. I think all those running backs see touches on a week-to-week basis, and all those running backs have access to a very high ceiling if the other player in their backfield were to go down. At wide receiver, we have Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Brandon Ayuk, Rondale Moore, and Corey Davis. So I think with this team, if we add on 2 more wide receivers, it's not going to be the end of the world to quote-unquote waste a roster spot on a 3rd quarterback with Watson to see if he could come back in weeks 15, 16, and 17, and in that tournament-style format, really just take our ceiling to the next level. But Julio Jones goes to pick 180. And if we were to take Watson, we could get Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 18th. I do like me some Donovan Peoples-Jones. AJ Green goes pick 181. Is Will Fuller already off the board? Daniel Jones? Or if Zach Wilson were to fall to us, 16 picks past his ADP. We thought about taking him in the last one. We have Corey Davis. Would it be better to just have Zach Wilson through the entire course of the season? There's so many different things to think through. This is why I freaking love Underdog Fantasy, because you really do have to sit here and you really have to think through the range of outcomes with all of your decisions. Here is the thought process that we have. I think if we end up taking Watson at pick 190, we're going to be a lot more likely to just take David Bell in the next round. God, I would love to be live right now. That way I could get your opinion. You know what we're going to do if we are... Actually, no. I feel like we can't take Campbell and then hope that we have both Wilson and Watson making it back to us, because Philly Kid could decide to take one of these guys. I think it was a solid plan to get Watson, but now that we have Zach Wilson falling 16 picks in ADP, we may end up just having to take Zach Wilson. We have the correlation with Corey Davis. Like, I understand most people are going to say, Mason, don't take a 3rd quarterback. You took Herbert. Our 2nd QB is Jameis Winston, and Bryan Edwards just went. Really, what is the advantage of grabbing one of those receivers here? I'm going to roll the dice. How about this? We'll try to make everyone happy. We'll go Paris Campbell here, who's also fallen 15 picks in his ADP. And if Zach Wilson or Deshaun Watson make it back to us, we'll go ahead, we'll take a quarterback. We'll get our 3rd guy. If they don't, it's fine. We have Herbert. We'll only go with the 2 QB build. David Bell off the board. Let's see if Philly Kid, he goes Hooper. Okay, I think we're going to get a quarterback making it back. Hooper, yeah, we're definitely getting one of these guys. Okay, we're going to go with the 3rd QB. Maybe we made that right call going with Paris Campbell, taking the other value at ADP, trying to get a little risky and get both of these guys. Now, if Zach Wilson falls, we're going to take Zach Wilson. Okay. I think this team has access to a large enough ceiling even without Watson. So let's go ahead. Let's take Zach Wilson, pick 195. I know people are going to tell me, Mason, you're an idiot for taking 3 quarterbacks. But guys, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine just went. We took Zach Wilson between Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Bryan Edwards. How is Zach Wilson not a profitable pick there? We get him 21 picks past his ADP. We had Winston about 21 picks past his ADP as well. So we go quarterback in the early 5th. We go QB in the 15th and the 17th. I really like what we did. Really like what we did. Our last round, we're going to go ahead. We are going to fire up another wide receiver now. With that wide receiver, I don't exactly know who we are going to be looking to draft. Of course, we'll figure it out. But I mean, we're not necessarily that excited to draft Jalen Guyton. Maybe we should. If we didn't get Everett, I definitely would have taken Guyton. In terms of the New Orleans Saints players, I mean, I guess you could make the argument for Marquez Callaway. I'm not doing that. I'm definitely not doing that. With the Jets, maybe make the argument for Braxton Berrios. I'm not doing that. So we'll probably just take whatever value does fall. And at this point, we are not taking Watson. Yeah, so Watson's off our board once we take Zach Wilson. But what's going to be really funny is if by the time this video is out, we do have some Deshaun Watson news, and I'm sitting here debating between the dog, Zach Wilson, and Deshaun Watson, who may be suspended for an entire year, Deshaun Watson, who may only be suspended for 6 weeks. And then obviously in hindsight, the decision would look so damn simple. But you know what? F it. We'll go Jalen Guyton. If Guyton's there, we'll take Jalen Guyton. If not, we'll go James Washington, Odell. I'm not taking Terrace Marshall. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. We'll figure it out between one of these guys. Schmitty only has one quarterback, and that QB is Josh Allen. He decided to draft Bryan Edwards, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, over getting his second quarterback a little bit earlier. Maybe he just is really going balls to the wall and saying, you know what, the NFL just does not give a damn, and they're going to go ahead. They're going to suspend Deshaun Watson 4 games. And then all of a sudden, he has the combination of Allen and Deshaun Watson at a massive value. Maybe he decides, oh, you know what? We can get Carson Wentz here and be just fine. I just don't understand how. I understand maybe make the argument with volatility in a best ball format and also a unique combination at the very end. But do Bryan Edwards and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine ever make a difference in reality? Find a hard time buying into that. Okay. But Romeo Dubes off the board at the 211. No interest. Okay, Schmitty on the clock. I'm assuming they go quarterback. They only have one in Josh Allen. They go marking. Are they on auto draft? Is that what it is? No, they're not on auto. You're not in auto drafting Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and Bryan Edwards. I'm sorry. I understand. Maybe you want to galaxy brain it. Obviously, when you drop Allen there, you're banking on Allen being healthy for the entire season, but still, that seems very thin. We'll go ahead. We'll just take James Washington. We'll take someone that could have a very large role. And I am excited about that draft. I think we did do a very good job. But of course, thank you so much for staying with us this entire time. If you have not done so already, go have some fun. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK so they'll match your deposit, and it's essentially free for you to test it out. And with a minimum of a $10 deposit, you will get our 2022 Fantasy Football Draft Guide as well. It's almost 300 pages of information. But thank you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day and hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.